Hi there. In this section, I'm going to cover some concepts that are central to Chapter 3 in your book. So sit back and enjoy. There's a lot in Chapter 3 in your textbook, but two concepts that run throughout the chapter are the concepts of modularity and abstraction. We'll start off with talking about modularity and we'll get to abstraction in just a second. This is an approach to home entertainment systems that was popular in the 50s and 60s, maybe even a little earlier than the 50s. The idea is that you would place the pieces of the home entertainment system in a piece of furniture. It would all be a single unit and look like a piece of integrated furniture where everything is designed together. Now, the problem with this approach is that if, say, you wanted to replace this radio with a newer radio, well, you're pretty much out of luck. And the same goes with this television and this phonograph. And if just say one of these units broke, you wouldn't be able to just pick up that unit and take it to a repair shop. You'd either have to take this whole thing out of your house or apartment and take it to a repair shop, which is unlikely that you would do that, or you'd have to have someone come to your place and repair it. So there's some real issues with this sort of approach to home entertainment systems. And eventually what happened is that the industry went with, mostly went with this approach, where the pieces of the home entertainment system were broken out into modules. And if, say, this module broke, or you wanted to upgrade it to a newer, better module, you just unplug it and pull it out and put a new one in its place. And the reason that works is that the modules have ports in the back that are standardized and clearly labeled, and so you can just plug the wires into the new unit after you pull the old one out, and everything usually works. Now, this is in some ways analogous to what happened in the computer industry, or the computer programming area, over the past 20 or 30 years. Programs that were analogs to this, big programs that weren't well modularized, were more common 20, 30 years ago. And it was tough to keep them up to date for the same reason that it's tough to keep something like this up to date. You couldn't just pull out a piece and replace it because it was all too tightly woven together. Object-oriented programming, which is what you're learning this year, is much more analogous to this approach. Think of each of these as objects. Right? The design of these would be the class for each of these objects, but these are themselves are objects of that class. And these can be, objects can be swapped in and out of programs. You might want to think of, in a way, well, this is a bit of a stretch. In a way, what you're doing this year is you're building modules, you're making your own objects, but you're also figuring out how to, place those modules within a framework, like this shelving system, and how to connect those modules together using parameters, which are the programming equivalent of the wires that are hidden behind these things in the back of the box. Now, when to break things up, where and how to, when to break things up into components is an art in some ways more than a science. And at different times, different people come down in different places and break things up in different ways. This is a marketing photograph for the Apple iMac computer. And this is in many ways a throwback to that, to this thing, right? It's all the pieces here are, all the major pieces are within this one unit. The monitor, the disk drive, the camera, the speakers, and the computer are all within this one box. And it has some of the downsides of that old stereo system in that if one of these pieces, say the monitor, breaks, you know, you have a real problem on your hands. You can't just go out and get a new monitor and swap it in. You're going to have to take this whole unit to some repair shop to have it replaced. You also can't easily change the monitor. Say you want a different monitor. Say you wanted a bigger monitor. It's not, you know, you just can't do that really. Same with the speakers, same with the camera, and it's all built in. Now, the approach over here, which Apple is clearly sort of deriding in this advertisement, says, well, yes, you know, you can have separate modules, but look at all the clutter, look at the mess that that creates, all these wires back here. And yeah, that's true. This is certainly, you know, a bit messier. In this image, it looks much messier. In reality, most people hide this stuff behind something, and it's not so visible. But there's some real advantages to this approach. You know, if this monitor breaks, then you know, you could either get it repaired or you could just go out and buy a new one and bring it home and plug it in to one of these wires. And the same goes for this camera up here. And I guess these are speakers down here maybe. Those could all be individually replaced, upgraded, or repaired. So as long as this, as long as you're happy with this, everything here, and it's all working, this is great. When something goes wrong, this approach, or you want to upgrade, this approach may be a little better. All right, let's not say better, has some advantages. So now this is a model of a Mac Mini, which Apple makes, and it clearly is takes the approach of a module, and curiously, Apple doesn't push this product very hard because I think in his heart, Steve Jobs loves this approach and does not like this approach. And the Mac Mini is that second approach. And as you can see back here, the Mac Mini has the same wiring issues that Dell had in that previous image. But, you know, this is a shot from the back, and most of the time the person's sitting up here and doesn't see these wires. But this gets us to the second major concept of the chapter, which is abstraction. And abstraction, let's go on one more to that, is a mechanism or a practice to reduce and factor out details so that one can focus on a few concepts at a time. So let's just go back to this. Right? The term black box is used in your book and is often used when talking about abstraction. It means that you can treat a component as a black box. You don't need, in this case, a white box. You don't need, for your purposes, to worry about what's inside of it. Now, clearly, there are all sorts of pieces inside of here that make up a computer, but, you know, we don't, sometimes, and at some levels, we don't care about what's inside of it as long as it works. So we can abstract the whole computer to just this box. What we do need to know is how we communicate with that box, right? And here are the ports that are used to communicate with what's ever inside the box are clearly labeled. And in many ways, you will I think it's appropriate to think of the parameters that you will be creating in your methods of your objects, classes, as roughly equivalent to the ports in this Mac Mini, right? It's those parameters that allow you to get information into the black box, and the return type, obviously, of the method allows you to get information out. But so when it's very important to label your parameters carefully, because many people want to treat your methods, your classes, down the road. If you go into programming, people will want to treat them as black boxes. They won't really want to know or have to worry about the details of how they work inside. They just want it very clear how they're supposed to communicate with that object. What sort of information do you need to plug in, and what sort of information do you get out, and what does it do, not so much how it does it. So if we look over at this screenshot of a website, this is actually on Java's website, and it's the complete API specification for Java 5.0. So this has all the classes that are built into Java listed. And you can actually go in and select a class over here and see the methods of that class, the constructors and the methods and some other information. So it's basically, for each of these classes, it's showing you roughly this information, right? It's showing you, what you need to pass in, how you're going to interact with that class. And you can get to this screen from the BlueJ help menu. And I expect as we move ahead in the class, you'll be using this site, this page, quite a bit to figure out how you plug information into built-in classes and how you get information out of those classes. Now, just finishing up, I want to talk a bit about how this relates to microprocessors, which are the brains of computers. This is an image of a Intel 486 computer, CPU, microprocessor, that I got off of Intel's website. This chip is not used so much anymore, but for a while it was a very popular chip and was in lots of Windows computers. Now, it's important to know that this is one CPU. The CPU can only execute the code from one object at a time, right? So it does it extremely rapidly, right? This chip did billions of instructions a second, but it could only do one instruction at a time. So really, in terms of objects and classes, only one object's code at any one time was running. And that actually, simplifies things from the programmer's point of view, because you always know that there's only one object that at any given time is doing something to the data of your program. Now, the problem with this approach is that the only way to make the computer faster is to make the chip do more instructions every second. And the designers eventually ran into a problem. They were pushing electrons through the chip so fast that it overheated. And so they couldn't get any more performance by making the chip go execute instructions faster. And this has been a big issue in the chip design world. So, they pushed it as far as they could in terms of making the chips faster, and then they really couldn't go any further without melting the chip down while it was running. So the new approach, and this is again from Intel's website, this is an Intel Core 2 Duo chip, which as of 2009, February 2009, when I'm recording this video, this chip is actually very popular right now and in a lot of the personal computers out there, including a lot of laptops, both Mac and Windows laptops. If you look at this chip, you'll notice something. There's a lot of symmetry to it, right? If you put a mirror down right here, you'd see that both, this side is the same as this side. And what's really going on here is that there are two CPUs on this chip. And that's where the dual core, 2 cores, or 2 CPUs in the name comes from. Now from a programming, right, and the reason that the designers have gone to 2 cores and are planning in the future to go to many more cores, right? And they're talking about in the future having hundreds, if not thousands of cores, separate CPUs, is to get around the issue that developed over here in that certain limits were reached where you couldn't make the chip go faster without melting it. So here the idea is, instead of making the chips go faster, you make more chips in each computer. So each computer has 2 brains in this case instead of 1 brain. Now, from a programming perspective, this is actually a huge issue in computer science and an unresolved issue, because it turns out to be significantly harder to write computer programs that take advantage of multiple cores or CPUs than it is to use a single core CPU. The reason for this is, as simply as possible, is that something this core is doing may impact the same data that this core needs to use or is using. Think of it as 2 people trying to write on the same piece of paper on the same line at the same time. Right? It's going to create real problems, real mess with the data. So, although as I said, a lot of computers have multiple cores in them right now, if you actually go and see how much these cores are being used simultaneously, you'll see that very rarely is more than one core doing very much, because computer programmers have yet to figure out how to take advantage of both cores. And so that if you go on and study computer science, that's going to be a big issue in the years ahead. And those people who figure out solutions to this are going to find themselves to be in a very good place in terms of career, money, that sort of thing. So an exciting but a very important area of research that, in order to move forward, needs to be resolved, and a lot of effort's going into it, and I have every confidence that the computer science community will gradually come up with solutions to this problem. So, at any rate, that's an introduction to the major concepts in Chapter 3. So long for now.